ॐ आप्यायन्तु ममाङ्गानि वाक्प्राणश्चक्षुश्रोत्रम् अथो बलमिन्द्रियाणि च सर्वाणि सर्वं ब्रह्म उपनिषदम् माहं ब्रह्म निराकुर्याम् मा ब्रह्म निराकरोत् अनिराकरणमस्त्वनिराकरणं मे अस्तु तदात्मनि निरतेय उपनिषत्सु धर्माः ते मयि सन्तु ते मयि सन्तु। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। In the vākya-bhāshya on the Kena-Upanishad, Sri Shankaracharya goes into quite a lot of finer details of the Vedantic perspective. And presently the topic is the place of God in the outlook of Advaita Vedanta. In good old days, and especially during Adi Shankaracharya's time, there were a number of people, not Dvaitis or Vishishtadvaitis, not Bauddhas or not Jainas, but within the so-called Vedic fold, there were quite a large number of mighty scholars who believed in karma itself, that is, work or action itself, being capable of delivering the goods or bringing about results. Shankaracharya says that is not the correct view of the Vedas. Just because certain karma 100 times out of 100 times gave results, it is wrong to imagine that the karma is independent. 100 out of 100 times, with the blessings of God, the karma yielded its results. That is the correct view. If God were to, for any reason, withdraw his blessings from karma, karma will not be able to give its results. Karma by itself is jada. Karma by itself is insentient. A sentient, intelligent principle alone can make karma get down to action. In this way, Adi Shankara places God or the supreme sentient principle, intelligent principle, at the heart of the entire running of this universe, from the microcosm, tiniest things, to the macrocosm, biggest things. Before we actually enter the third khanda, the third section, where the story begins, Brahma Devebhyo Vijigye, God won a war for the sake of gods, that is Devatas. The supreme ruler Ishvara blessed the Devatas, gods, with lowercase g if you are writing it, out of love for them, compassion for them, out of his support or her support. God is beyond gender, him or her, you may say. Generally, we use the pronoun he. Brahma vijigye, Ishvaraha jayam praptavan. Ishvara attained certain victory, and the Devatas took credit for it and got arrogant, very proud. So before we enter that first mantra of the third section, we already spent 2 classes on understanding Adi Shankaracharya's introductory comments, but now in this third class on that matter, or the 15th class in the whole series on Kena-Upanishad with vākya-bhāshya, we are going to see another 2 or 3 paragraphs And then another 3 or 4 paragraphs, then only we will enter the mantra proper. For let me assure you, let me emphatically say that every one of these paragraphs first may appear, for every paragraph may appear rather repetition or a bit abstract or maybe not relevant to our times, etc., etc. But it's not so. In fact, Vedanta students especially have to have a clear understanding of who God is in the scheme of things. In the scheme of things, where that non-dual Brahma alone is real, what's the place of God? And what's his place with respect to karma, etc. has to be clear. Let me say one more time, greater the clarity we have about these important aspects of Advaita Vedanta, your benefit, what it will be, lesser will be the need for the so-called sadhana. If you see clearly there is no snake but there is only rope, nothing needs to be done. You just, relax. Likewise, if you contemplate upon the Vedanta statements, contemplate upon the profound remarks of Adi Shankaracharya in his bhashyas, you will have such a clear understanding of everything. And when that clear understanding takes place, there is nothing to do, even the so-called mind control, so-called control over emotions, the so-called time management, sense management, self-management, 100 things with which you and I struggle under the canopy of sadhana just become redundant. Therefore, Vidyaranya says in Panchadashi, aprayatnat prayatnadva mudo napnoti nirvritim. One who is not clear about the teachings of the scriptures, whether one puts in effort, prayatnat, or one doesn't put in effort, aprayatnat, na nirvritim apnoti, does not find peace. When there is no clarity about what Advaita Vedanta is saying, we will not find peace. In the second half of that shloka, in the 7th chapter of Panchadashi, Vidyaranya says, Samyak darshana matrena gnani apnoti nirvritim. By seeing the meaning, not superficially, not just enough to repeat the words, but seeing the import of Vedanta Vakya in all clarity, then you become wise. And in that wisdom, no matter where you are, no matter whether others agree with you or not, no matter whether a king felicitates you or not, no matter whether somebody invites you for a lecture or not, these are all silly things in the true sadhana. When we have no clarity about Vedanta Vakyas, we are caught in a maya of a different kind. We depend upon recognition, appreciation, promotion, and 100 things of the world, all because, as Vidyaranya put it, Muda, we are deluded. With this, let's open. We have 2 or 3 slides for this session. In the first slide, we talk about what is the main theme. We go to the first slide, 1 of 3, and this just once more reminds us that we are presently looking at Adi Shankara's light on need for God. God is an integral and essential component of the scenario unless you are enlightened. When you are enlightened, then also there is God, but God alone is. There is no karma, there is no karma phala, there is no karta, there is no prapancha, vishwa, jagat, jiva, jagat merge into Ishvara. So Ishvara never goes out of the picture. It's a misunderstanding that Advaita Vedanta puts Ishvara by the roadside and the Advaita Vedantins say, I am God. And so on, Aham Brahmasmi. Rama Rama, Aham Brahmasmi in no way pushes God out even by an inch. Aham Brahmasmi is where the ego is pushed away completely. The ego, the separate I, the Aham Vritti meets with its death. So the title slide shown here says, the spirit alone can move, can have pravritti. It can alone make the inert also move. And we will see this in the next slide where there is the last line actually. And the Sanskrit line in the Bhashya is Achitimataha pravrittihi na siddha. Chitimat means sentient. Chiti is intelligence, sentience, ability to know, capacity to understand. That belongs to the Atma, to the Satchit Tattva. If that sentience, Chetanavatva, isn't present, then that is Achitimat. And the sixth case of it is Achitimata. Of something that has no consciousness in it, no light in it, no life in it, it cannot have even the least pravritti. I had quoted Sri Ramakrishna in an earlier class, who made matters simple. These two great masters of the 20th century, Sri Ramakrishna, apparently the champion of bhakti, and Sri Ramana Maharshi, generally limited to Jnana Marga, but he was also a great bhakta. These two masters made a lot of Upanishad teachings very simple in their language. Sri Ramakrishna used to say, when you have a bowl or a vessel filled with water and you put pieces of vegetables cut and put into that water, they won't move. They will be just like that. But when you turn the oven on, if it's a gas stove, you light the stove, flames rise, the flames heat up the vessel, heat up the water in the vessel, the water starts moving, then the pieces of vegetable, which were just a while ago totally stationary, start moving up and down, sometimes in circles. After 5 minutes, turn the gas off, turn the oven or the stove off. Within a little while, all the pieces of vegetables stop. They don't move anymore. Because in the form of an analogy, they are achitimanta, achitiman. That means lifeless by themselves. But when water gets heated and starts moving, they also move. Therefore, there is a certain conscious and intelligent principle. Without it, achitimataha, or if you want a simple Sanskrit word for this, achitimataha, all it means is jadasya. Jada cannot have pravritti. Na siddha, nowhere do we see it. In the analogy, of course, it's the fire which has the heat that is transferred to the vessel and to the water, and then certain movement takes place. Analogies have their own limitations. For heaven's sake, do not say today in the class I came to know that the Supreme Brahman is fire. Fire is only a drishtanta. Fire also is jada. Water is, of course, jada. Therefore, the analogy sort of makes matters easy for us to understand. Pure consciousness, that chit tattva or chiti, is not an object, not an object for our senses. Fire is an object of our senses. We can see fire. We can make a comment. Oh, big flames. Let me take the stove from high flame to medium or low flame. The flames can be big or small. But consciousness, for which this fire was an analogy, can never be seen at all. Insentient is not seen to have its own movement. Therefore, in granting phala, which is a movement, you do certain karma on a Tuesday, and if it is of a certain kind of karma, your result may come on next Tuesday. You sow a seed, the plant comes not instantly, after some time. Whereas something else, you eat food, your hunger immediately goes away. In another paragraph, which we will be not seeing in the slide, but I will be referring to, Sri Shankaracharya talks about two kinds of karma phala. Some karma phalas come about instantly, and he gives the analogies, or not analogy, examples. Gati and Bhuji says. So we will go into it later. Therefore, the question here is, karma and karma phala, it's a phenomenon. You do some karma, very soon, very quickly, instantly, or after some time, or sometimes in next life, you get the results of those karmas. It's a phenomenon. For that phenomenon to happen, there has to be a sentient principle underlying all this. Now we see how Adi Shankara takes up that point and says a few more things which he had not said so far. In the second slide of this evening's session, evening in India, morning in the West, Sri Shankaracharya writes, Nacha nirnimittam tadanichaya atma samavetam tat charmavad vikaroti karma. Within the certain limitations of an analogy, we find a skin upon our hands keeps changing. As we get older, the skin may get wrinkled. Or even when we are young, unless we take bath, again, care for the skin, through heat and cold, through some inclement weather and so on, the skin seems to change itself. So, charmavat, can karma, give results? So can it transform into karma phala? Like regular skin changing into wrinkled skin. Can karma change into karma phala by itself? Shankara uses two negatives. Na nirnimittam. Na is one negative. Nir, if you add, second negative. Without a cause, it is not possible. Without is one negative. Not possible is another negative. That means tadanichaya. Tat here represents the intelligent principle. Unless that intelligent principle wishes, though its way of wishing is different from how you and I wish through thought, its wish is again another mystery. So kamayata, we say in the Upanishads. The supreme truth desired to become many, bahusyam, and so on. Tad anichaya, if the pure self, or here, if Ishvara does not want a certain karma to get transformed into karma phala, then without any other reason, by itself, it will not change into a result. Atma samavetam tat. So, that is, by itself, and vikaroti. Vikaram apnoti. That is the meaning. Karma does, because karma is atma samavetam. In an inseparable manner, it is on the atma. And it may seem that karma itself is changing, but it is the blessing of the atma, blessing of the pure self, that karma can turn into karma phala. The next line makes it even clearer. Nacha atmakritam akarta samavetam ayaskanta manivada akrishtra bhavati. by Atma Kritam. Here Atma doesn't mean the pure self. Karma has taken place, and by itself, Atma is oneself. Karma by itself does not have any power to attract, in this case, the corresponding result. Akartra samavetam, if it doesn't have the blessing of a karta. In other words, there is the karma, and higher than the karma is the karta. Let's say there is a pen. The pen writes a poem, but higher than the pen is the hand that is holding the pen. Higher than the hand is the intelligence of the poet who operates his hand. The hand operates the pen moves on the paper, and there is the poem. Like that, if the higher principle kartra, suppose were not to be there, therefore a kartra samavetam, can karma by itself attract akrishtra? Akrishtra is like kartru, bhartru, netru, the one who attracts. Akrishtra na bhavati. A magnet, just keep it at a distance and bring some iron filings near. Nothing else is required. The magnet attracts those iron filings. Like that, can karma attracts karma phala? Sri Shankaracharya is making a strong case for something higher, which is God in the present context. Pradhana karta samavetatvat karmanaha. This karma, we must not forget, happened, took place because of a karta. You find a ball moving in space, in sky. If you look at that ball and then look in the direction from which the ball came, there is a batsman, MS Dhoni, is standing there with the bat raised. He hit the ball. So, pradhana kartra samavetatvat karmana. The action, the moving, the ball is moving, that is karma. But it had a karta, somebody who hit the ball, right? Therefore, please do not have a narrow vision. Now, Purva Pakshi says, next sentence, Bhutashrayamiti chet. Bhuta, which otherwise can mean the five elements, here means the body made of the five elements. The Purva Pakshi, the imagined opponent, seems to argue, why bring Atma, Paramatma, God, etc.? Karma, you see, is done by the body. So, karma doesn't have to have God as the basis, as the support. Body is the support. The Siddhanti, the champion of the school, champion of right understanding, says, no, please don't say the body is the end of the whole matter. Body is a sadhanatva. It is also a tool. Just as I said, the pen is a tool, the hand is a tool. Then you may say the muscles are the tool, the muscles go into the brain, brain is a tool. The pen, the hand, the muscles, the nervous system, the brain, maybe 5 levels. But Vedanta would say all of them are tools in the hands of a certain higher intelligence. And Shankaracharya makes matters easier for us by giving an analogy. I use the analogy of a pen because Pujya Swami Chinmayananda used to say, can a pen ever claim the writership for a beautiful poem? Can a pen say, I wrote a wonderful poem? Just as a pen cannot. Here too, the body, a karta on a certain level, hands on a certain level, and then the movement of some pen or some ball, I said. None of them can actually get the credit. As you know, in Bhagavad Gita, Sri Krishna says in the 11th chapter, Arjuna, what are you talking? All these soldiers on either side who are supposed to die are already killed by Nimitta matram bhavasavya sachin. The famous statement of the 11th chapter. Like that, Shankara brings, in place of the pen that we have talked about, we have here Hala Adivat. Hala means flow. कर्तृक्रियायाः साधनभूतानि भूतानि क्रियाकाले अनुभूतव्यापाराणि समाप्तौ च हलादिवत्. You use a plow, a farmer uses a plow and plows the field, makes the hard soil softer, runs the plow. Today I have tractors with their components, with their parts. Let's go to the old plow. Hala. Parashurama was called Haladhari. So he went around with a plow upon his shoulder. Haladivat. So when the plow is doing its work, Kriya Kale, Anubhuta Vyaparani, what seems to be happening? The hard soil is being broken into pieces and getting softer. But finally, what happens to the plow? The farmer, once the work is done, Kartra Parityaktani, he just leaves the plow on the field. I mean, in places where there is no fear of theft, etc., he doesn't even have to carry it home. Tomorrow I will continue my plowing. He leaves the plow. Kartra Parityaktani, na phalam kalantare kartu muksarante. So, these bodies, your body, my body, indriyas, etc., they are like a flow. They cannot by themselves bring about the result. Adi Shankaracharya, out of compassion for us, goes to such gross level. In the next slide, which is the last slide to be shown, but we'll say a few more things other than what is written in the slides. Shankara says with a touch of humor, Nahi halam kshetrad vrihin griham praveshayati. Pravishati means enter. Praveshayati means to make something enter. That means take something inside. If you took your dog for a walk, at the end of it, you bring the dog back. You enter and you make the dog also enter. Come, come, come in. And the dog also follows. Praveshati, praveshayati. So can a plow, which of course was much involved in the agricultural work, towards the end of that season, vrihin, all the harvest, will the plow on its own bring and store inside a house? They are all tools. Like that, the next sentence says, Bhuta karmanoho. Bhuta, the body or bodies, and karma is actions. These physical bodies and the actions done by these physical bodies, they are all deceptively sentient. Actually, they are insentient. Bhuta karmanoho acetanatva. Tayoho chetanam na vartate. Bhutancha karmacha, bhuta karmani, they are achetane, they are jada. Swataha pravritti anupapatti. Left to themselves, they can't move even an inch. Left to themselves, the pieces of vegetables do not move even an inch. Only when the fire is lit and the water gets heated, they start moving. Sri Ramakrishna made things so simple. Likewise, people once asked Sri Ramana Maharshi, can you show us God? And he just lifted his ring finger and moved the ring finger like this. Yeah, I'm showing you God. And they said, what is this? Your ring finger you are moving. Ramana said, the power behind the finger moving is God. I showed you God. It's like somebody asked, show me electricity. You turn the fan on. the fan rotates. That fan rotating is a sign of electricity being in the fan, in that equipment. You can't see electricity with your eyes, but seeing the fan moving, you know there is electricity. Seeing the finger moving, you know there is a certain power. So, vegetable pieces in movement or finger in a hand in movement are indications to God's presence. Shankaracharya says, Pravritti Anupapatti. No movement, no action, no acting is possible. They are incapable of acting on their own. Last part of the slide that we are showing here. Purapakshi says, don't give the example of a plow which lies on the ground after the farmer walks home. Think about air. Think about wind. Don't we see wind blowing, wind moving? Vāyuvat iti chet. Like that, karma can transform itself into karma phala without bringing God into the picture. The Siddhanti says, no, that is not an appropriate example. Asiddhatvat. Though it may seem that wind has the capacity to move on its own, actually, if you think more about it, wind doesn't blow just on its own. It is also caused or it is made to move, in a physics, because of some pressure differences, etc. It is made to move. Otherwise, nothing moves without a certain reason behind. And the part of this part of the Bhashya concludes saying, Nahi vayoho achitimata. From this line only we created the title slide. Achitimataha vayoho. Of wind which is without chiti, without intelligence, swataha pravrittihi siddha. Because you think about many other inert things. Talk about a ratha, a chariot. A chariot does not suddenly start moving and where it wants stop and so on. You may say Elon Musk has made a car which goes on its own, comes back on its own, parks itself in parking area of malls and so on. So has Elon Musk disproved Vedanta or Shānkarabhāshya? That is similar to this Purapakshi talking about Vayu. Wind blows on its own. Today, driverless class car. Nobody is in the car. It goes and comes back. We say all that is superficial. Even the driverless car actually is made to move by certain software, by certain hardware, and all of them are powered by electricity. And that being an analogy, in the case of you and I doing things, lifting things, dropping things, walking to places, thinking, feeling, and a million things we do, actually everything is resolved into pure consciousness. With this, I will give you some highlights of another paragraph which appears, which follows. The Purapakshi says, well, let's put it in simple English. Shastrat karmanaha eveti chet. That's how the paragraph begins. The Purapakshi says, sir, I have also read scriptures. There are some mantras in the Vedas which say that karma can give result on its own. For example, Swarga Kamo Yajeta. That's a mantra, very much quoted mantra. You and I have not read so Karma Kanda much, but in the Upanishads themselves, this is quoted so many times. Swarga Kamo Yajeta. A person desirous of heaven should do such and such yajnas. Does it not mean that yajna being performed takes one to heaven? It is not said Swarga Kamaha Yagnam Krutva Ishwaranugrahena Swargam Labet or Swargam Labeta. Right. Ishvara is not brought into the picture. Therefore, Shastra gives Phalasiddhi without Ishvara. And also a statement like this, Varga Kamo Yajeta, please note, it is not from somewhere else, it is in the Veda. Pramana Adhigatatva. And if you say, I don't want to consider that statement, you reject a statement from the Veda, then you are doing a great injustice. Is to say even one sentence in the Vedas is meaningless, don't consider it, don't go by it, would be a great insult. Anarthakyam na yuktam. And therefore, nacha ishvara astitve pramanantaram asti iti chet. Purvapakshi says, when we consider such statements where there is no God mentioned, we can comfortably conclude that, well, there is no adequate proof to establish the presence of God. The Siddhanti says, no, no. Here and there may be a statement where God is not explicitly mentioned, but wait a minute. There are so many other statements and also logic. Drishta Nyaya. Nyaya means logic. What is the logic? What is the reason? What is the rationale that you generally find in this world? Any work, that's where the two kinds of karma phala comes up in this paragraph. Kiyahi dvida drishtaphala adrishtaphala cha. Something you do, you are thirsty, you go and drink a glass of buttermilk. You say, now my thirst is quenched. Instant. Today, you know how instant food has become so popular. People want instant coffee, instant tea. Many people who don't even want to make a cup of tea. The 3-in-1 mix is available. Just have hot water, put that and stir it. It has got tea, it has got milk, it has got sugar, more than what is optimum. Then you say, instant. So these karma kandis are of that kind. Instant, they see something hurriedly. Shankaracharya says, no. Karma sometimes gives instant result, sometimes after some time, drishta and adrishta. So drishta means which gives results in front of our eyes. One is anantara phala, without a gap. Another is kalantara phala, after some time. Adi Shankara gives a lot of simple examples. If anybody thinks Adi Shankara's commentary is very difficult to understand, I disagree. If you see such portions, anybody with some basic knowledge of Sanskrit can understand, or to go by translation. Drishtaphala api kriya dvida phala, drishtaphala kriya dvividha, anantara phala, kalantara phala. Some give quick results, some give results later. Anantara phala, give you example where result is immediate. Gati bhuji lakshana, he says. Gati means walking, movement. You want to go from your upstairs in your house to downstairs. Just walk. As you walk, a few steps come down the staircase, you are at downstairs. You are walking down the steps, or in a multi-story building, you enter the lift, press a certain button, you come to ground floor. Immediate result. So then bhuji means, we already said, drinking or eating. Gati, bhuji. In a number of things, it's like that. ATM, go and do a couple of operations, chuck, 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 500 rupees notes or dollar bills come out of that machine. Anantara phala. Now, antara means gap, anantara means without a gap, very quickly. Kalantara phala is krishi sevadi lakshana. You do agriculture, you sow some seeds, but it takes its own time. Kabir said in a very popular poem or couplet, a gardener may pour buckets and buckets of water, but the right season has to come for the plant to give its fruits. Mali siche saugada ratu aaye fal hoy. Dheere dheere he mana, dheere sab kuch hoy. There is one popular couplet. A gardener, Mali, may put a lot of water, but there are many plants which blossom and the fruit comes only in the season like mango. In India, in December or January, no matter how much water you put, you won't get them. March, April is this season starts. We know it. So, Krishi, Seva, some service, eventually you get the results. And so Shankaracharya goes into the whole structure of karma and karma phala. Some give quick results, some give slow results. When it is quick result, karma, see, he uses those of you who may be holding the Bhashya in a book in front of you, who see this anantara phala dirgha. That means it's an adjective to kriya. Kriya is feminine, which is a synonym of karma. So action which has quick results, what happens? That action, karma itself ends when the phala comes. The whole file is closed. Whereas in actions where the phala comes later, what happens is the action seems to end, and for the result to come later, sevi or sevi adi adhinam. Someone who has done the action, he will get the result eventually. So, कालांतर फलातु उत्पन्न प्रध्वंसिनी आत्मसेवी आदि adhinam. You are the person who sowed some seeds and you have a hut near, you are waiting. And when the results come, you come and pluck them. You take them. So you are there. Someone who put the seeds. Kalantara phala. So what is Sri Shankaracharya trying to say? You may wonder. The Bhashya says, in this way, whether it is immediate results or results at a later time, karma has no swatantra, has no independence of its own. And that is how we will see everywhere. Therefore, what you see everywhere has an upper hand on some statement here and there, where some word might be not explicitly mentioned, but you should understand. Swarga kamo Ishwaranugrahena yajeta. That Ishwaranugrahena is implied there. Many a time you and I do not mention every word. In today's age of WhatsApp messages, many times a brief message goes. So like the old example goes, a guru asked a shishya to bring water. The shishya brought water in a glass and the guru got angry. I asked you to bring just water. Why did you bring a glass also? How can the disciple bring water without a glass? So will you say, no, but the guru should have said, oh my dear disciple, bring some water in a glass. That saying in a glass is unnecessary. Likewise, Swarga Kamo Yajeta, if somebody wants heaven, one must do such and such karma, in no way implies that karma by itself gives results. God is involved there in the light of many other factors, like we explained. So, Ubhayanyaya Vetirekena na swatantram karma tato va phalam drishtam. Neither karma nor karma phala is swatantra, independent. They need the grace and blessings of a superior, higher intelligence. Those of you who have studied Upadesha Sara, in the very first shloka, find this. Karturajnaya prapyate phalam. Karma kim param? Karma tad jadam. Very interesting. As though Maharshi Ramana thought over these lines of Shānkarabhāshya in the vākya-bhāshya of Kena-Upanishad and said that in the first shloka. Karma kim param? Is karma supreme? Is it independent? Is it autonomous? No. Karma, jadam. It's inert. It is Ishvara who sets everything in motion. Tasmat shante yagadi karmani nityaha. Shankaracharya comes to the crux of the matter. When yajna, yaga, homa, havana, laukika karma, dharmika karma, vaidika karma, this karma, that karma, dushkarma, satkarma, whatever it is, when all of them shante, when all of them are done, whole job is over, there is someone, Nitya, who is eternally present. As Brother Arneka would say, Drashtuhu drashtehe viparilopaha na vidyate. The seeing principle does not have a lapse even for a split second. Nityaha. Who is that Nityaha? Ever present. Drashta Nyaya, Kartra Karma Phala Vibhagajnaha Ishvara. There is a certain ruling principle, that is Sanatana Dharma's teachings. The other so-called great religions might be great in certain respects, but they have missed out a very, very important principle. With due respect to Buddhism or other religions, in their eagerness to simplify matters, they have removed a whole chapter on God, and strictly speaking, it does injustice to the whole science. But they focused on calming the mind. The Buddha said, just calm the mind, handle the mind, and a lot of people felt certain amount of peace in it. After all, even in Sanatana Dharma, in some scripture, it is said, Shamartam sarva shastrani vihitani manishibihi. Saeva sarva shastrajnaha yasya shantam manasada. All scriptures ultimately are meant to bring peace of mind. If somebody has peace of mind, he is equal to someone who knows all the Shastras. Whether actually he has read the Shastras or not, somebody is keeping calm in all conditions. We would rather respect him than someone else who has apparently studied books but gets agitated on small matters. Chamartam sarva shastrani vihitani manishivi. Saeva sarva shastrajnaha. Who? Yasya manaha sada shantam. It is said in some Subhashita. Ishvaraha sevyadivati agadi anurupa phaladata upapati. The crux of the matter is Ishvaraha phaladata. Sacha atmabhutah sarvasya sarvakriya pratyaksha sakshi nitya vijnana swabhavaha samsara dharmaihi asamsprishtaha. The Vedanta's position is very clear and firm. This supreme principle makes everything possible, but itself is untouched by punya or papa. In Bhagavad Gita, 5th chapter, there is a shloka. Nadatte kasyachit papam nachasya sukritam vibhuhu ajnane navrutam jnanam tena muhyanti jantavaha. People get deluded by their narrow concepts. When they get to clarity in the Vedanta, they realize that actually there is a certain truth in this universe, there is a certain truth in themselves, which is ever free from any action, any reaction, asamsprishta, untouched by the attributes of samsara, of this phenomenal universe, this worldly life. This worldly life is marked by birth and death, disease and old age, rebirth and again rebirth. And in one more paragraph, I'll just draw your attention to it, especially those who have a book with you, vākya-bhāshya. Shankara just gives a few Veda mantras. In Kena-Upanishad, it is said, Na lipyate loka dukkhena bhahyaha. This Brahma Tattva, this Ishvara Tattva, the God, while involved in essence in everything, is utterly uninvolved. Na lipyate. Jaram mrityum atyeti. There is a certain truth about your existence, says the Vedanta to every one of us, which is above old age and death. Vijaraha vimrityuhu, free from old age, free from death. Chandogya has a satya kamaha, satya sankalpaha. When that supreme intelligence wishes something, decides something, that happens. Yesha Sarveshwaraha. This is the Supreme Lord. Punyam karma karayati. From Kaushitaki Upanishad. Anashnannanyo avichakashiti. We have done Mundaka Upanishad in this series. The two birds on the same tree. One eats, happy sometimes, unhappy more often. But the second bird, Anashnan, not at all eating any fruit, sitting quietly, has a radiant face. All this refers to a certain principle, certain higher truth in you and me, in the whole universe for that matter, which is ever unaffected. Yetasya va aksharasya prashasane gargi. इत्याद्या असंसारिणः एकस्यात्मनो नित्यमुक्तस्य सिद्धौ श्रुतयः. Siddhau in Siddhi Saptami. In establishing this truth, there are so many Shrutis. And Sahasrashaha Smritaya, says Adi Shankar. There are thousands of Smriti Vakyas also. Smritayascha Sahasrashaha Vidyante Nacha Arthavadaha Shakyante Kalpaitum. Please don't say that is not to be taken literally. It is Arthavada. That means it is meant for contextually praising. On the day of reception, everybody comes to the bride and bridegroom and say, wow, you look so wonderful. Both of you deserve to go to Bollywood and act there, etc. They may say 100 things. Next morning, nobody will go behind them. That reception day, they are the king and queen. They are on the stage. Everybody admires, appreciates, and so on. That's called Arthavada. No. These are literally true. The Shruti Vakyas that Shankaracharya quotes here, Vijaro Vimrutyuhu, Satyakamaha, Satyasankalpaha, Anashnannanyo, Vichakashiti, and all this, right? They are to be literally taken. They are not Arthavada. They are not to be taken as, okay, in some sense only, not really. No. Because Ananya Yogitve Sati Vijnana Utpadakatvat. These statements generate such Vijnana, such wisdom, such insight. Ananya Yogitva. Anya Yogitva means where it needs karma also to be associated. Anya Yoga. You have to connect something more, then only it works. Ananya Yoga means with no need for karma to be associated. No need for anything else to be associated. Right understanding, swatantrena by itself, generates Vijnana, and that Vijnanam, Utpannam Vijnanam, na badhyate, says Adi Shankaracharya. And that is how we have completed several paragraphs, another 4 paragraphs. In one more class, we will complete. For though it may look like, I'll say once more, it looks like repetition, it's not exactly repetition. It is seeing things from different angles of view and coming upon a greater clarity about Ishvara being real. There is God. Does God exist? God exists more than you and I exist. If anybody asks me, does God exist in your opinion? I will ask that person, does your uncle exist? Does your chacha, mama exist? Does Biden exist? Does Modi exist? They say, hey, they all exist. Every day they come in the newspapers. Newspapers. How many years will they come? Some for 10 years, some for 20 years, some for maybe 50 years. Rama and Krishna, Shiva and Subramanya, Devi and Ganesha, Kartikeya and Ayappa. Thousands of years they have been in news. They will be also in news for thousands of years. Therefore, Ishvara asti, asmakam astitvam sandiheta. Sandehaspadam, our existence as personality should be doubted. In our maudya, in our delusion, we doubt the existence of God and we think We, as Mr. So and so, Miss so and so, Mrs. So and so, of course, I exist. I see myself in the mirror and confirm it. I am very much here. Up and kicking. How long will you be up and kicking? You will drop dead before you realize what is happening. So, in simple and very complex ways, Adi Shankaracharya makes a very strong case for Ishvara. Such a strong case that this Jnana Yoga almost becomes Bhakti Yoga. If you deeply understand these statements, you will close your eyes and say, Jai Shri Ram. You will accept God. So we'll complete this a little long introduction to the whole third section, Tritiya Khanda. Om Namah Paramarashibhyo Namah Paramarashibhyo.